Today is different, my friends. We're gonna record entire show of we running a process school, and we have 3 activities. Add your own upcoming activities. So basically a brainstorm what things we want to do in process school and in ambassador program and what's basically coming up. Then another task is calendar. We're gonna add some stuff to the ambassador singularity.net Google Calendar and make it shareable link what people can use to see where what events happen. And if we have time, we go or process school tasks or like action items we had from last meeting. So we do have this, but one thing I will bring up about we actually have Discord server updates. So I'm already doing some because you gave me other advice. I'm deleting some channels. For example, I deleted the trans broadcast channel, which was internal. There was only me and Jonathan just doing two sentences. So we don't really need things like which not really needed to thinning the ambassador program channels if necessary. But I haven't watched anything else. But one day I think we should go over it and what, yeah. Other than that, I think yeah, we do have the work stuff. I think in process school in next week we also should look into the translation process. What's happened, like we have the issues you said, like USDC and all these tags and stuff. I'm actually missing an admin access, so I can't really move stuff here again in the work. So we need to get this stuff
like that. But I mean, I gave you admin access earlier, I think. So maybe on a different board. This is on the which board are we talking?
This is the ambassador program. I can check that into that was the one we shared in ambassador program. Check into translation access, and then not actually negotiation dashboard and does it work basically.
You should have full access on every board of the whole organization right now. After a refresh, because it's the work. Looks good, right?
No, doesn't work for me. Wonder, can I do anything anywhere? Oh yeah, here I can move tasks and yeah, here I can. Well, that's something needed to be looked into within the weeks. I know that also David and Radan actually shared some marketing guild activities in the ambassador. Do you have like 2 different meeting days, one for doing tasks, or they are the same thing? You're just having one weekly thing at the moment.
We have one workshop for 2 hours on Thursdays at 18 UTC, I think. And then we have the marketing guild meeting on Fridays. So the workshop is for like hashing things out, doing tasks, setting them up. And the meeting is more for community, meeting side.
Yeah, I figured like Friday's kind of more for announcements and then gaining any feedback from people.
Okay, yeah. I guess we can already move to the calendar because that scheduling what we have is gonna give us insight of upcoming activities. Like it's much easier to look at, okay, these are things what's coming up, what's the agenda there. And it's... Or well, other option is that you create the UTC and like date and time stuff, start adding all the marketing good stuff. I will do the process guild and then think of all the other events like town halls. Felix is here. I don't know if you have time, but I think you can drop like deep down town halls and then whatever ideas you still have. And if David, you have some upcoming ideas about whatever this you're doing, basically you've already take off projects or meetings times and on the Miro board, and then I just copy them into here and Peter can do. So he started with the loyalty rewards already.
Yeah, cool. I can start putting them in the Miro board.
Do you will you
Makes
continue
me wonder
there?
on this.
I'm gonna check treasury guild. Yeah.
Makes me wonder on these events, like which to include, like the two open meetings. Yeah, that's straightforward. However, the portal closing or the what are the other ones on the list?
I did have a thought about the level of engagement that we expect, whether we should define that, whether like we could and have levels to that. So we expect people can be spectators, or if we expect them to actually, for instance, do tasks in the Miro board or to talk in discussions. I don't know if that's something we want to define.
Yeah, it's something I want to bring up on the Thursday marketing meetings. I want it to be like a lot more participatory and for people to actually want to like lay the foundation of Marketing Guild. So it's tough because I'd like to reward those people too. But at the same time, if we get, eight people that want to join or something like that, it could be hard rewarding people per hour of work. If we've got 8 people, maybe only 3 or 4 of them are actually putting in work. It's where it also becomes kind of hard because I don't want to be the dictator on who's doing enough work to have value or gain rewards either at the same time. All I want to do is make and help get people that want to make cool content for AI and SingularityNet. That, when it comes to dictating rewards and stuff like that, that's my interest isn't as big for that type of stuff.
Maybe you want to do a bi-weekly marketing guild then, so which is more of like a bigger vision of where people come together, and it's still maybe not a workshop. I don't know, I've never been in marketing guild, but like a workshop would be where you have a nose down and people contributing and creating stuff where to contribute, where marketing guild is more like connecting the rest of the working groups in future together and sharing and getting that.
I definitely think there's space for both that conceptual stuff, forming the strategy, talking with the people, and also getting on with the tasks. I think with the marketing, it's very task orientated or deliverable orientated. So I feel like we need to have at least as much workshop time as meeting time to just keep up.
But for now, marketing will we do it weekly. I put it there in Fridays, or I turn it also bi-weekly.
Yeah, weekly for now.
Getting to see that would be.
Do you just want the ambassador events in the Miro board, or to bring in other Singularity events?
Yeah, I thought also town halls of deep found town hall, the expert group stuff would be also make sense here. And then the dates of when deep funding proposal submission is closed, and when the voting starts, and then when it's voting ends, basically. That would be, yeah. But I don't know where to kind of find that. And we don't have to do it all at once. We have also another task, but this is a very strong start already to share.
Nice.
Just finishing up there. Okay. So I tried to give a little thought on the coloring. So red ones are basically the outwards facing, although this is community podcast, so maybe this is more working meeting. The green ones are working meetings. Yeah, I can turn this also light green. And yellow one, yeah, is treasury, where the money flows, and blue ones are then all the governance related stuff, I guess.
Sweet. Then marketing guild's 1 p.m. on Friday.
No.
Do you want me to get on with any tasks?
Yeah, I think. I wonder. Yeah, I can come back to this later. But the idea was that I wonder, do we need it now? Because if I do it like this, can I see? No, it's still horrible view. But it gives some sense. Yeah, I'm wondering if we want it on the Miro board too, because it's good for kind of planning. But for now, let it be. So we do TTS purple tasks. I guess we have enough of this task, and on the marketing goal there you can package it up. And we could wonder if we want to do that on the process map.
That's too small for me to read.
To read what? I was
We're mentioning a specific task on here, sorry.
now the task what we did. I assumed he talked about this calendar task we had. We just finished the task, like making a Google Calendar.
Yes.
But there was a thing that we could also put them onto the Miro board. But then let's push that somewhere else. Let's try to use this calendar and see if we need that. On the purple tasks, we do got few minutes. So I wonder, do we want to go into another action? So we have, yeah, we did that. We set up a date and time for translation projects, then we
Yeah, that's done.
edit out summary separately of summary review. Okay, so these are the workshop stuff we wanted to get started with, and we thought we're gonna use this process code to do that.
Yep.
So basically,
Pretty funny, actually. Like, it's like, oh, we need to explain how it works, and then it's like, okay, let's describe a session on how it works, and then oh, we need the requirements to map out, and then oh, we need the invitation message, and then oh, we need a guide in how to write an invitation message. It's like never ending almost.
well, it didn't there though. But yeah, now we need to come back from the bottom and get to the run the session. How your feelings are right now, everybody? Should we quickly do another task, or we wanna share what we just did, how it's going, and shall we meet another day to do the tasks instead? Or we prepare for Treasury Guild, because that's also a meeting we might want to get aligned with.
I'm up for another workshop. Seems like a nice way to get stuff done. I'm open.
So you mean to simply plan another session, or to right now do another
Oh
task?
no, by another session, I was meaning like next week, and we do it next week, not right now, because we have 10 minutes. I think what we could use that is allocate tasks, but then we still have like, let's do it next week, but then we already allocated tasks.
Well, the one thing you mentioned about the Treasury Guild and preparing for that, you know, that's a bit more timely since that's in 2 days from now. And well, we simply cannot do that next week. Let's see, that's at 16. Yeah.
So last time when we had Treasury Guild meeting, we analyzed feedbacks because we had the Holy Grail hidden somewhere in the database. And then, oh no, actually no, this is not it. I was already mixing it up with the ambassador role in invitees. This was more about rules of how we establish some kind of governance rules about treasury, who should get rewards, how much, and if you make a rule, how often, how do we overrule it, and when the time passes, how long it takes time to take an effect, and how can we change it. So these were discussions before, and I think we ended up with, we didn't have action items here, but the idea of having a Git book page and then just stating the rules there.
Well, we need some answers from this, right? Because this was the were decisions made based on the input, but all these red ones are still questions.
Yeah, future name of indicator needed for having valid vote. How often will you check rules? Yep. Oh yeah, all the red ones are basically what we need to get to. Uploaded by average participant wasn't on total 7 responses minimum. What is the minimum amount of responses trying to form in order to use resources to get session? And we decided, okay, 5 people. So in order to find the consensus on rule setting, we need to require 5 people. Yeah, so basically, okay, we now know that we were doing some rule setting. Let's see what other questions. And we did get some answers, and some of them we just made more questions.
Yeah.
Who
Good
should
question.
have a control of working group budget? Who is our Treasury Guild? Yeah, we need to explain that. Where to get approval for spending the budget? Who approves initial account? How to approve group in internal allocation?
Yeah,
I think we somewhat discovered that and shared it in following up ambassador meetings. I think these decisions or like how it's run was discussed more in Discord channel, because that was the time when Marketing Guild was also setting it up and basically asking same questions. So we do have a mechanism, and we just should write up how we did so far. And yeah.
I think if you turn that around, there's also still current questions from the Marketing Guild to the Treasury Guild. for example, related to how to shape a role, how to define numbers for that. I'm not saying the Treasury Guild has full wisdom and knowledge there, but
I think actually this is good topic. We could turn this session around that we have David and Grandana here. So to make Treasury Guild focus on marketing guild, because they are now have workshops to do tasks, and then they have ideas of we could pilot a role there. So you have like a role of person who is doing keyword tasks and role of person who is sharing results, which I see already like Karna and David kind of doing, and we both can wear the same role, but we then allocate like a specific monthly budget to that. So and how we record it, I guess it's up to you. If it's too busy right now, then I mean, like, it would be good to report or to have your own measure. How do you kind of want it to be narrated through time? But you don't overkill it. But try to keep it minimal so that you don't spend like hours to record what you do in monthly. So it should be simple, and at the best if it's like kind of part of the process.
Yeah, nice. Me and Grandano were discussing last week how many tasks in marketing can be kind of aggregated so that we get stuff done. So for instance, one person like putting something on Twitter doesn't necessarily mean thinking of a post, putting it up, getting it approved, putting it on the platform, or sending it out. It can be aggregated into with these more roles, I guess. And some guidelines on that would be kind of useful, I think. Perhaps quite a standardized measurement is just hours, and then depending on the, for example, the skill level of the task, perhaps there can be different levels or something like this. But in general, I think that like hours is quite a nice thing to work towards if there's guidelines given between amount per hour, then we can kind of look at which roles we can afford in terms of allocating certain hours to each role per month. And then I guess it's going to be a bit of experimentation. Maybe once Grandano wants to chime in.
Yeah, first, if we set any roles, we can always, at the end of every month during that workshop, we can look back at a role and see if that's working for that person and be flexible on changing it and experimenting on it at first. I think something would be cool to have is, like a task manager that accepts tasks or moves them appropriately. Or maybe we have right now we have a pool of probably like a dozen different tasks that could be done. It's just they're loosely ideated, and having somebody that can form it into a task with the appropriate reward and stuff like that, that'd be great to have. Or somebody that does posting on certain different social medias, those types of rules.
Yeah, I think we should have a one workshop meeting. You can invite me when you're ready, or where we share a bit how the Swarm Treasury also works. Or we technically could do it all in that one meeting we prepare in the process guild itself. This one, because that would show I could alternatively show like a way to, because we are missing here audited. So what I was also read in Discord, that what we can do is that once you move task into review on your side and you add audited tag, then the rest of it, the disbursement, how much, and calculations, dashboards, and sharing it to community, that is then covered by the treasury quick process. And it would be like, we have Discord links and stuff, and yeah, like templates and that rewarding stuff. So,
Nice. I think
And-
definitely.
and from your side, it doesn't actually matter how you do it. You say that this is the way. We need to say one hard part is to formulate into T-work, but we could use tags and titles to kind of make custom functions. But there are some kinks where it's not possible, like we cannot do soup tasking and can't really do rewarding same people differently on the same task if there are assigned need. But reputation, it's possible. We could add that into the treasury system, because we in Swarm we don't
Yeah,
use it, but we do. We have the opportunity.
We discussed a bit of this, especially with writing, because how do we get good writers consistently rewarded? And one of the ideas came up in the discussion last week was the possibility to give plus 5% each, for example, article that's written. So you're in a way compounding, yeah, that interest in being a writer for Singularity now.
I thought it was a good idea. Yeah. Takes a bit of commitment, but at least you're if somebody shows this commitment, you're actively rewarding it. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's yeah, it could be a good thing to reward that loyalty.
Yeah, at first with Marketing Guild, I was like worried about making sure there's tasks for everybody. But now I'm kind of getting the point where I think it'd be a lot more beneficial to just find like a handful or however many people, whoever shows initiative, I guess, that's good at making content and making sure that they're rewarded. Because I feel like, it's like, it's really easy in the crypto space. It's like, if there's a reward for somebody, there's always gonna be people that put minimal effort. That way they can get rewards. And it'd be nice to come up with incentive models that make sure that people that are actually interested in AI, actually interested in the Singularity Net ecosystem, understand the impact on humanity and want to create great content for it, or want to stick around and help out with it.
And then hopefully without creating a race to the bottom, like in a way, working with these kind of budgets, yeah, you really have to be careful that, just constantly pushing to get more done with the same budget, therefore paying less.
Yeah.
It's tricky. Like it's a global free market in a way. And for some people, we saw an example of this in the town hall meeting, with Julian struggling, making ends meet based on ambassador work, which, well, clearly wouldn't be the case if he was living in random country not being America, I would almost say. But like, there's tons of countries where this would be triple or quadruple the minimum wage. But
Yeah,
but I also don't want to kind of not allow for for example, Americans to contribute and feel adequately compensated.
Yeah, it is tough, because I think a big thing with like the ambassador program is that the goal is not to be anyone's full-time job. Maybe someday, if the Marketing Guild does have a way of generating revenue, maybe you get a handful of people that are so good that there's people joining deep funding. It's, and these other things, they need help with marketing, stuff like that. There could be various ways to generate But the whole point is just to reward people for spreading awareness about the ecosystem and AGI. And, you know, a lot of people start their content creation journey from zero. And the benefit is that there's potential access to professionals within SingularityNet. And then the ecosystem hive mind of people just liking and retweeting your content, and then providing a spot for like the incubation of ideas with rewards for experimentation. I think people need to realize that that's huge, because if you don't come into Marketing Guild with a portfolio and you're demanding like, oh, well, people get paid X for doing Y. And it's like, yeah, but they're also professionals with a portfolio. So there's, you know, kind of this level of understanding that needs to happen, because we're going to deal with people that are professionals with the portfolio to show for it. We're going to have people that are starting for zero but demanding more pay, and it's an interesting balance.
Definitely. Initially, I was kind of surprised by Swarm's approach of, I think at some point it was, maybe that's still accurate, was working with a dollar per hour amount, which in my mind would blow through the budget of the ambassador program just way too fast. And I think I also mentioned this, kind of took the approach of, well, ideally, if we would have like people who believe in the project, somewhat implied is that if you don't instantly sell your tokens the moment you get them, the rewards might be, in hindsight, quite a bit higher than they look to be. And then when working with a $10 per hour, that kind of, yeah, it's still there. I mean, that's by no means like a top salary for most countries. I'm not even sure if that's accurate for most countries, but for like the top countries, that's yeah, below minimum wage.
Yeah, I guess the
Yeah.
narrative has to kind of change if we want to create a movement which is, you don't do the work because of rewards, you do it because it is the collective requirement of what we need to do next.
Yeah, it's a grassroots movement. It's the same in Ergo. Like there's no big budget that came out initially for anything. You know, we don't have this big treasury fund that Cardano has, but you know, it's proof of work. People want something that's truly decentralized. There's nobody to look for rewards, and if you're making content and it's valuable, maybe it'll be valued at some point. But yeah, definitely, like for me personally, I'm not in the space to like make money. I'm in the space because I want people to be able to transact computation, whether it's value or information, without some central controller. And I see how that plays into AI. I see how that plays into the monetary system. And if humanity doesn't have these systems in place, then there's not really going to be humanity to look forward to. So to me, that's like a lot more important than money. But I also understand that people need to be rewarded for doing things. So it's a tough balance, because with Marketing Guild, it's like I want to achieve like greater awareness of these things. At the same time, I don't want to deal with people that are complaining about money, because to me, if you're, you know, if you have a computer and access to Discord and you're into technology, then you're probably not doing too bad in life. And I don't know, you could be grinding for your job on the side or whatever, but I don't know. The grassroots movement of the industry is a lot more important, if that makes sense.
What do you think about, or what's the reflection so far? I don't know, Cran, Dano, Peter, about people that are completing tasks and in terms of race to the bottom or race to the heavens, if you want to put it like that.
I think Marketing Guild's like so new. We're still laying the foundation for everything. I did, you know, somebody reached out and they graduated in marketing and they're really interested in writing articles. And I looked at their website and I was like, oh man, this is like somebody that can make really great content. And people like Fly You Fools and Rojo's been showing a lot of interest. Like overall, like I'm super optimistic. That's where for me personally, like I need to find a person that's more interested in the creation of tasks and rewarding people rather than finding these connections or creating the outline of the marketing guild, because for me the monetary reward side is like one of the least interesting parts, but for somebody else that's probably a very interesting thing. So like finding a task master and people that really want to dig into like what percentages of the marketing guild funds should be used for what, it'd be great to find those people that have high interest in that. But I'm optimistic. I think we've got really good group of people, and in the master program, like, you know, from where it started last June or so, it's like we've come a long way.
Actually, in Swarm, it's really cool because Pete, what you mentioned before, a certain financial budget in Europe or in the United States, it's not the same like elsewhere. And we actually in Swarm, we had a really cool experience with Malik because he was just all the time engaging in bounties. And after some months, we said, "Hey, dude, who are you actually?" So we got in contact with him, and he became our bounty master actually. And he's a young student from Pakistan. And we started to support him with $500 in ADA per month. And for him, it's a massive game changer because he just can run his full study without financial pressure. Where he say, wait, it's $500. And he's studying computer science. So he brought a friend in as well. And they both are now building a library. So I think really I think just going down to what you mentioned as well, is maybe I had and maybe I should excuse for this as well. I had a little bit more the trip in the past, like, okay, ambassadors in the best case, they would be full-time on the ecosystem. They don't have to have a day job. So they're really fully dedicated to this place. And over years, you have just monster experts. And when saying, okay, in the best case, you would start with somebody from Switzerland, where the salary is really high, or Norway. Because once you can figure out how these people can financially survive, and let's say, for example, okay, somebody in Switzerland fucking can survive, then you know somebody in Vietnam or Congo or Peru will fucking 100% survive on the ecosystem. So starting with the most difficult, actually. I think we can also learn something from Julian's case, right? I mean, he is very committed. He is really there for the cause, but he just has not the financial sustainability to engage in it. Because after the end, some have to pay rent, and some have it easier, some not. And then we run into this issue that we have people who really go into it and really engage and start a lot of stuff, but then we are not able to survive them. And very often also maybe people have been, but not trained to be entrepreneurs and are now, okay, now you're a blockchain crypto entrepreneur dealing with AI shit and whatnot. Build your living. And then they fucking stress out, right? And nobody knows, oh shit, that's not a nice situation, but yeah.
Now, what to make matters even worse, and sorry to nothing personal on Julian, just let that be clear, but it's just it's a currently the longest running work group, I think. I mean, his budget is in tokens, and that's not reflecting for example, the increase in token price, which is getting reflected right now in the translations. So, that's not going to improve. Like, I don't know, in a way, I feel, yeah, it's great that he's still having a budget of 5,000 tokens, but it was never the intention to have $1,000 allocation. So, yeah,
I agree on this.
Yeah, it's tough. It's something I was talking about with Five Fools is, in marketing, if we're setting up tasks for people to create and do videos, much like a podcast, it's, our total budget for Marketing Guild is 7,500 AGIX. So for one person to make 5,000 AGX, and then have the other 2,500 for other uses, and let's say they're maybe putting out up to 4 videos a month, you know, and Marketing Guild, that could be a you know, we're not maxing out our budget, so I wouldn't ask for more of a marketing budget for until it is maxed out. But theoretically, if we had double the budget and the right amount of people, I mean, that could, I don't know how many videos a month that could be, but easily 20, you would think, or something like that. So these are also
would
things
agree
to
with that.
think about.
Absolutely, but I think he was more or less the first to get an allocation like that.
For
You know,
sure.
that's,
Yeah.
that's also a process.
Definitely a process.
And it didn't feel like a reasonable starting point for marketing work group. But of course, at the same time, if there's way more people involved, way more output, yeah, that should be reflected in the budget. That only makes sense. Yeah, we just want to provide some assurance there that I don't think anybody would, of all you know, I work for marketing, so of all places, I think that's a very good place to allocate funds. It will pay back, well, not guaranteed tenfold, but you know, it's very impactful. So there's no question there that there's definitely, yeah, want to reassure you that there's definitely space for increasing budgets as needed, pretty much.
Yeah, for sure. And I figured that too. And then yeah, it just kind of brings up the point, like maybe with Treasury Guild or whatever, like we had talked about a while back, like every 3 months or so, just looking back over the budget and making adjustments as needed. So that could be something that's probably coming up due on our list at some point as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Marketing Guild, though, we're not even using, I don't even think, like 10 or 15% of our budget, but hopefully in the next month or so we will. So I wouldn't ask for an increase there and for the foreseeable future. So that's no problem.
And then
And
we
I
have
just-
something to compare.
And I definitely think there's an opportunity to, with onboarding projects, for instance, from deep funding, there could be reaching out to them to ask them if they would like to like use these SingularityNet ambassador marketing services to like host their Twitter, for instance. And I imagine that might be easier once it's kind of, we're more accustomed to role-based, for instance, because then there could be a project we can strike a deal with them, or they can write us into the proposal for a certain amount of tokens, and then we allocate, say, one person from the marketing team to do that. I think I see that there are those other ways of growth, and also, for instance, with the podcast, for instance, perhaps there could be some interoperability there if Julian wants us to, for instance, make loads of Twitter posts for him. Or I think there's definitely ways that we can be useful to other parts with some outreach.
Yeah, definitely. It's I mean, in a way, it's still early in the process, you know. But these are topics we should reflect on every now and then. Just preventing to get stuck in a certain way of like, oh, this budget needs to be this. I mean, yeah, it's just not true. On a zoomed out level, Credano, as you mentioned, not spending your budget on a zoomed out level. This is the case for the ambassador program itself as well. Yeah.
Type down that in Treasury Guild we need to look at overview, what we need for overview of funds to get the overview for funds.
Some really cool stuff there from the last month. We each time from Swarm we allocated some funds to SingularityNet Bounty Wallet, and we have 3,000 ADA and 80,000 HIX there. And it became quite some stuff now, as we had this crazy jump in HX. So we went from, yeah, this is worth almost nothing to, oh, cool, we have some real serious funds here, guys. And they are all set for Singularity Net bounties, engagements, and stuff, right? So a whole reserve. And I would say, yeah, Treasury Guild and the team here, definitely, let's try to figure out how we can make them accessible at them as well. I would really love to go via bounties to trace it, but also, for example, I think what is quite important also for the group here. For example, for a call like this, I think it would be weird to add, for example, each time HIX tokens and think and stuff, or whatnot, over time. But definitely Jimble tokens in this regard. So actually just a tracer token which separates monetization from engagement. Because two different things, right? Oh my God, and that we mostly really use, let's say, for example, the first Jimble token can be whatever token actually in a later stage, but one which is not monetized to make sure we can track and trace engagement and participation. Because we have the financial incentives and the social incentives, and we are not able to, with the Ambassadors program, to always satisfy the financial incentives and to say, oh, okay, you can fully live on this. But we are able to track everything what you do in the ecosystem, document it, build you a real data set of experience and expertise on-chain and off-chain. And this we have already on place. So I think over a long time, not sure how it would play out, but from your perspective, guys, for example, imagine since the very first day you engaged in the community, you would have had the possibility to display from yourself your engagements. And this is traced via token on the chain. So all the stuff is then linked to you. And whenever somebody comes and says, yeah, Grandano, people say you're an expert. Why are you an expert? What not? To actually just have a data set where you just throw it in the face and say, yeah, fuck that, that's why. So
Yeah, that's simply the way to go. I mean, it's just too strong. Like, not much arguing against it at all.
What Grandano said also bounty master, I think here. We need really a person who just is in shitload of places where stuff happens and just tracks it. Call like this. Ah, okay. Set up a DevOps task. Who is there? Everybody is already on the platform. Yeah, okay. You can assign them to the task. Add directly Jimble tokens to the task. And don't even force them to document shit themselves. So you have somebody who documents them from a third perspective, from just very objective. Okay, these 6 people have been in this call. This is just a person who, but this would be then somehow a real serious job, I would say, because if you have to actually what you do, being everywhere all the time. We need to peak.
I mean, I don't get just ambassador tokens, you know. I don't get any ambassador tokens, but it's my job, you know. However, full on bounty master I would become a bit sad, I think, after not too long. But you're absolutely right. Right now, this should be captured. The town hall before this should all be captured. I mean, indirectly it is. The recording, I did post the recording onto the public drive, so technically anybody, even if you weren't in the meeting, you can.
I think Felix is creating the task already because every week I see we reward Singularity Net.
Yes.
But I don't do process code, but I added it into our upcoming activities.
I created the one for this call already.
Well, it's not so much about pointing like, oh, you should or who should, or I mean, I also don't. I can also make tasks. I mean, that's all good.
That's exactly the thing, right? We need one where we know this person is just doing this shit all the time.
Can't we somehow extract that out of something like Otter? Just automate the shit out of it?
Somebody has to manually copy paste and create the task. And like still have to think that when this happens, and see who's part and manually.
Well,
I mean, we just
to be
created
honest,
a public calendar, right?
you have the Discord, you have the dwork GitHub integration, and on on GitHub you can trigger actions, so you can create actually automated stuff, which then transforms into a dwork task. But not everything, I think. So there's still some manual stuff to do. But this would need to be developed.
I think the moment we build a better dwork, we should include this as a nice to have feature.
The Singularity Ambassador project program actually has a GitHub repository or something. Oh, we have no devs. We have no space for devs to do shit.
To do what? Right now, there's no tasks related to that, so no. I mean, we can have. It's just make an account and you're done. But no, so far this hasn't come up.
No, I was more joking. Like, we need a space for devs. Because, for example, like this, right? Just what you said, that we say, okay, we would, in the best case, like the same paradox with Tivo, each time we zoom more out, right? We would want to have a good recognition way on track and documentate participation from very engaged people over time to build up their reputation. But therefore, we need a dwork bounty master. For the dwork bounty master, we would have to go into dwork GitHub integration, and we would need to set up some automated tasks there. But we don't have a GitHub. So we first need to set up a GitHub. Because then a shitload of tasks we can automate. And is there AI? Like, GitHub has AI.
I mean, it's a good point. As long as we should be using it where we can, no? To help automate, and there are definitely opportunities like this. Yeah.
Simply put a task on dwork.
And we need a bounty master for that.
I think like once it takes like quite a lot of effort to put in an automated structure, especially when we don't know if it's gonna work or if it's gonna be used.
Yeah, and how hard it is to integrate it into one dwork, and can you replicate to all the dworks? And like then you need to go to the call and talk with the other person. Again, you have the project on dwork. How to set this whole thing up, and then you iterate. And that's the onboarding and discussing and getting. It's not automating just one thing, but understanding the whole process.
Here's the thing. I mean, this could be its own project on deep funding, you know. This could be like a project to automate the ambassador program or these kinds of tasks. I think it's definitely, I mean, this is something that we could put out to the community and say, hey, we've identified this problem. It's a good idea for a proposal. If you want, you can use it. Yeah.
And that needs a technical person to know how feasible is GitHub solution for that in order to put that proposal in.
I think that, yeah, I mean, like us doing, like setting up a GitHub and stuff when there's no devs around to service it immediately. I mean, maybe this is something that would be easier to look at outsourcing. I don't know. But like, do we need it right now? Do we have like moving to the end of this year, right?
Yeah, but that's the thing. The bounty master would be a shortcut to that, because whatever we automate, we probably takes much more time, bigger team, and more thought. But in person who likes to do that thing, I do, but I fucking full of doing all kinds of stuff already. So yeah, like persons are like the best used because you just, yeah, it's a role based, like pay them thousands and they just keep doing their stuff. They check because they are in that flow state all the time anyway. Keeping it clean, keeping it clean, keeping it clean, sending messages out, don't caring about what stands there, just notifying people, then connecting people because they're not talking to each other.
It's interesting to hear about how Swarm kind of formed that role through, in a way, you incubated it. You identified that in the community. You kind of integrated that. I think if we were to open up tasks on DWork for more outside people, then we're going to get the people that are searching and kind of who are more into that zone. It seems, taking a step back, it seems weird that we're looking for this kind of person in the ambassador program when there are people on this, like this on DWork, outreaching and doing different tasks. Maybe we just need to put ourselves more out there on the right platforms like Twork.
It's still, you know, DWork is it's reward driven. So you still get you know, like bounty hunters, people looking for an easy buck. I mean, not saying it will be like that, but I'm curious to see if, let's put it like that, what will happen if we yeah, more openly start to advertise.
Maybe also checking where to advertise, because read this experience with these 2 students from Pakistan. For me, it's a little bit like mind-blowing. So what actually happens when we say, oh, okay, because we have already all the town halls on our, and for participants, we really target students from, let's say, Africa, Latin America, South Asia, East Asia, where we know low budgets have a quite big financial impact, actually. And students, so they're hell of busy. They're really into the matter. Bring them early already then to us also, but say, oh, cool, maybe we can even get some really strong contributors from there for generate the whole thing. And then we just create our own experts, like, hey.
Yeah.
I really like, well, just personally, that kind of methodology of bringing someone up, helping them, giving them that upward mobility. And yeah.
Right, we are 30 minutes over time. Close. We'll close this. I guess I'm not gonna do a summary because those who made it in the end, you have it all in your head. And you have 2 XP to check this out. So this time, enjoy it. Anybody else wants to have final words before I close the report?
Thanks, guys. Great
Thanks a
meeting.
lot.
Yay.
One last question. Who wants admin rights on the, maybe on DWork? Because if people want to set up, for example, small bound tasks for themselves, if they contribute. I mean, here we just can throw, I think, an admin link to everyone in the call here, for example. But then I would definitely take some time for DWork stuff.
You
So for
mean
that
to
we find the
Singularity
bounds.
Net, or where do you mean? What do you think?
Because right now on SingularityNet DWork, it's actually only Ian, Pete, and me who can set up tasks.
I added Tifo to this during the tunnel, but yes, you're
Ah,
right.
cool.
Especially for well, I guess there's some for example, let me triple check if this is actually true. I think for the marketing guild, yeah, both Fly of Fools and Crandano have rights to create the tasks. I'm not sure if it makes sense to compartmentalize it like that. And also, I'm all in favor of giving Eric some rights.
I was gonna say that, well, I guess I talked a little bit about this, but with my time management and just what I'm doing outside of ambassador program, I'm lining up to being more hands-on involved and not just a face or not the face on the screen. So, yeah, no, I got a good feeling for this year and the future.
Awesome. I was in a way partially kidding. I don't mind giving you rights, but at the same time, like it kind of makes sense to me that for for the person leading the podcast to have rights on the podcast, yeah, for marketing to have on the marketing. At the same time, I completely trust anybody having any rights to create tasks. Yeah, I completely wouldn't mind Grandano creating a task on the podcast board, for example, or like that. Maybe it should be more open.
I think it will make us easier to manage that for now. And the permission should come in after the problem happens. So when you start doing tasks on podcast group and then members in podcast like, no, you don't pay for that because it's not related. And if it doesn't resolve quickly and easily and starts to recur over and over again, then we add more rule sets. But out from the box, I'm not sure we need it.
Well, you're saying you're not sure we need compartmentalization or
Yeah, basically.
Okay, so you would say just project-wide share all the fun.
Yeah.
Also, there's separate things, like you can either manage the organization, manage all spaces, manage retroactive bounties, create tasks. Like, for example, the create tasks would be one. Like giving somebody that permission doesn't also mean they can remove spaces, for example.
That's good.
I'm pretty open to anything, to be honest.
Yeah.
No urgent need perhaps, but step by step and just start one place and then just go from there.
And Felix, I keep that in mind, that there is this swarm singularity in a treasury report too. But I feel like all the groups right now have the boards where can they do that, and they haven't reached the capacity. So, but we definitely keep in mind that if there is now a strong event or a task, then we could turn to swarm board. But yeah, right now I don't see really need, because all groups are still starting and have allocation.
Agree.
I'm gonna write it with the meeting notes.